I've been having a blast on Doom the Dark Ages. This is an amazing game, but I think we can all agree on one thing as fans of Doom, okay? Doom's storytelling is not that great, at least when you play the games. When you look into the lore and everything and you dive into the wikis, it's way more intricate than it seems on the surface, and this story is actually incredible. So that's what today's video is going to be about. We're going to be going over, the entire story of Doom Guy and the Doomslayer. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Welcome to the beginning of a saga drenched in fire and cosmic betrayal, the Doom universe. Before we dive into shotguns, demons, and mechs, we need to talk about what Doom actually is. Doom is not just an FPS game, it's a mythos, one built over decades, connecting ancient prophecies, futuristic corporations, and the endless war between order and chaos. At the heart of it all is the Doomslayer, an unstoppable force of rage, but he didn't just appear out of thin air. To understand the Doomslayer, we must first understand the universe itself. You see, in the Doom universe, there are two central forces, Urdok, the heavenly realm of order, and Hell, the chaotic consuming void. Urdok is home to godlike beings known as the Makers, hyper-advanced angelic entities who see themselves as guardians of creation, essentially. The Makers originally guided civilizations, offering them gifts of knowledge and power in exchange for worship, but order comes with a cost. At some unknown point in time, one of Urdok's most powerful Makers, a being named Davoth, rebelled. He wanted free will, evolution, and most of all, power. But the Makers feared this. They imprisoned him in a dark realm, cutting off his people and dooming them to corruption. That realm eventually twisted into what we know as Hell in the Doom universe. Davoth became the Dark Lord, the literal source of all of the demonic power. That's the twist in Doom. Hell isn't just a place of punishment, it's a former paradise shattered and poisoned by betrayal. Its demons are the remnants of Davoth's people, twisted by time, hatred, and agony. This isn't biblical hell, it's scientific, cosmic, and tragic. Okay, now let's jump ahead to a world called Argent D'Nur. This was a proud warrior civilization home to the Night Sentinels, elite soldiers sworn to protect their realm from invaders. Their world was powerful, but they were losing a war against Hell's demons. That is until a mysterious being appeared, the Con Maker, emissary of Urdok. She offered them salvation, a new source of energy, pure, clean, and seemingly limitless. She called it Argent Energy, but here's the catch. That energy came from Hell, specifically from the souls of the damned, harvested in gruesome soul refineries called the Gore Nests. The people of Argent D'Nur didn't know this, or at least they pretended not to, and so the Unholy Alliance was born, heaven, hell, and a warrior world working together for power. This is when the real story begins. Now, among the Night Sentinels, there was a man who lost his son to the demonic horde. Unlike the rest, he didn't bow to politics or power. He became a one-man army, relentless, unstoppable, and filled with rage. This man would one day be known as the Doomslayer. He volunteered for a one-way mission into Hell, but instead of dying, he slaughtered entire legions of demons. His hatred was so pure that even Hell began to fear him. They trapped him in a sarcophagus, calling him the Unchained Predator. But his legend had only just begun. As this world grew more dependent on Argent energy, dissent festered. The Doomslayer returned, changed, bearing the Crucible, a blade forged from the essence of Hell itself, which is sick. With it, he led a rebellion against the corrupted Makers and their unholy union. But the betrayal ran deeper than anyone knew. The Con Maker, desperate to preserve her order, struck a deal with Davoth, the Dark Lord. She gave him worlds to consume in exchange for continued energy. It was an act of desperation, not divine justice. Argent D'Nur fell. The Night Sentinels were scattered, but one man, the Slayer, was taken by divine forces and sealed away until the time he would be needed again. And that time is now. So everything I just recapped and went over was basically the events of every single game before Doom 2016. And that is just a summary, okay? This is spread out between like 3 games or 4 games, I believe, before Doom 2016 came out. But Doom 2016 is really when the lore starts to pick up, okay? Those games are just background for those of you guys who don't know. So let's go ahead and jump into the events of Doom 2016. Picking up where we left off, the Doomslayer had been entombed, locked away in a sarcophagus deep within Hell, feared by demons and worshipped by some as a god of vengeance. He was a weapon too dangerous to destroy, so they sealed him away. Fast forward countless years, and we arrive at the not-so-distant future, the age of megacorporations and Mars colonization. This is where the Union Aerospace Corporation, or UAC, re-enters the picture. The UAC is Earth's largest and most powerful tech conglomerate. Think of it as Apple, Tesla, and NASA all rolled into one, but literally with zero moral compass. By the time of Doom 2016, humanity has colonized Mars and its moons. The UAC's goal with this? Find new sources of energy to solve Earth's crisis. And what did they discover? Yes, of course, Argent energy. Yes, the same soul-fueled power that destroyed Argent D'Nur. Through experimentation, the UAC uncovers remnants of Hell, and instead of being horrified, they capitalize on it, of course. They build entire facilities designed to extract and refine this energy from Hell itself. This operation is led by two key figures, Dr. Samuel Hayden, a brilliant scientist who transferred his consciousness into a massive robotic body after a terminal illness, and he believes Argent energy is humanity's only hope, and Olivia Pierce, a UAC researcher turned cultist. She became the highest priestess of a demonic religion, obsessed with opening the gates of Hell permanently. While Hayden sees Hell as a resource, Olivia sees it as salvation. Their ideological clash becomes the fuse that ignites the apocalypse. Okay, anyways, as the game begins, Olivia's experiments cause a catastrophic breach. Demons pour through portals into the UAC's Mars base, tearing everything apart. That's when the Doomslayer is reawakened. He's found sealed inside a Hell artifact known as the sarcophagus, like we stated before. Once freed, he wastes no time, grabbing his iconic suit and shotgun and launching into action. No dialogue, no questions, just pure rage, and the demons certainly remember him. They call him the Doomslayer, the Hellwalker, the Unchained Predator. Their ancient enemy has returned. So throughout the game, as you're playing as the Slayer and fighting across Mars, you even journey back into Hell. He uncovers deeper truths there. The Crucible, his legendary weapon, is now locked away by the UAC. The Hell Priests who once served Davoth are being worshipped again, and worst of all, Olivia Pierce successfully opens a massive Hell port. The Doomslayer pursues her into Hell itself, battles his way through unholy arenas, and eventually destroys her after she transforms into a spider mastermind, a grotesque fusion of human intellect and demonic biology. But while the immediate threat is ended, Hayden has plans of his own. He betrays the Slayer at the last moment, taking the Crucible and teleporting him away. He believes the Slayer is too dangerous, but he also knows Earth still needs a savior. By the end of Doom 2016, the world stands on the brink. The Slayer is gone, Hell is not defeated, and the forces of Davoth, the true Dark Lord, are only beginning to awaken. What Doom 2016 did was reintroduce the mythos. It gave the Slayer context. No longer just a nameless marine, he was now a god-tier warrior from an ancient realm, a symbol of vengeance against betrayal, corporate greed, and demonic tyranny. And this was really just the warm-up. Moving on here, we're going to cover the events of the absolute masterpiece that is Doom Eternal. We'll explore the lore of the Con Maker, the betrayal of Urdak, and the arrival of the Dark Lord Davoth himself. This is where the story explodes into full cosmic scale, with angels, gods, and the multiverse on the line. By now, the UAC's recklessness has finally borne fruit. Bitter, rotting, blood-soaked fruit. The gates of Hell are open, the Crucible is stolen, the Doomslayer has vanished from Mars, and Earth is falling. Doom Eternal doesn't pick up in a lab or a bunker or a military base. It begins in a burning sky, a ruined skyline, a planet on the edge of annihilation. Over 60% of Earth's population has been wiped out. The oceans are boiling, cities are overrun with demonic growths, humanity has just completely lost. But in the heart of Hell's conquest, something returns. A drop pod from orbit slams into a ruined skyscraper. Doors hiss open, and out steps the Green Titan himself. The Slayer is back. As you're playing through the game, you discover that at the center of Earth's downfall, there are 3 Hell Priests, ancient, corrupted former Sentinels who now serve the will of Davoth. These priests aren't just generals, they're spiritual engineers. Wherever they tread, the barrier between dimensions breaks. They don't just open portals, they bless invasion, sanctify destruction, and they're protected by the UAC's new governing body, the UAC Cultists, led by the fanatic Dr. Elena Richardson, who now preaches the Doomslayer is evil, a heretic disrupting the holy union between man and demon. But the Slayer doesn't care about politics or sermons. He begins hunting these Hell Priests one by one. This is a war of attrition, and Earth is just the battleground. As the Slayer tears through the demon invasion, a voice begins to speak directly to him. Regal, divine, and venomous. This voice is the Con Maker. She is the ruler of Urdak, the angelic realm, the dimension that once gave rise to the Makers who now see themselves as gods. The Con Maker is not a single being, but a title passed down across ages. But this one in particular is obsessed with maintaining the singularity, an eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth powered by Argent energy. And that energy still, of course, comes from Hell. The Makers harvest souls from across the cosmos, refine them in Hell, and distribute them as salvation. Entire civilizations are sacrificed to keep Urdak afloat. This is the divine conspiracy. Heaven and Hell are not enemies, they are partners. The Con Maker made a secret pact with Davoth, the original Dark Lord, to feed him worlds in exchange for Argent energy. Earth is just the latest victim. But the Slayer knows the truth. He's been to hell, he's fought the demons, he knows what Argent energy really is, and he just will not let this cycle continue. Throughout the campaign, Dr. Elena Richardson, through archived audio logs, begins to unravel the Slayer's true identity, and what we learn changes everything. He's not just a Marine, he's not just a soldier. The Doomslayer is the same man from Doom 1993. After the events of Doom 64, where he stayed in hell to destroy the Mother Demon, he continued his crusade until he was discovered by the Sentinels of Argent D'Nur, the medieval warrior culture from the Dark Ages. That's why the Dark Ages is medieval. A lot of people are confused about that. It's a prequel to Doom 2016, but it takes place between like Doom 64 and, the reboot. In the Dark Ages, they watch him fight, die, revive, fight again, and they were so impressed with his fury that they made him one of them. He became a Night Sentinel. But when Argent D'Nur betrayed its values and allied with the Makers, the Slayer turned on all of them. His rage became myth. His armor was modified into the suit, by Maker technology. His body was enhanced, his soul was tethered. Eventually, he was sealed inside a divinity machine, not to imprison him, but to preserve him as a weapon of last resort. He is now more than human. The Slayer is a hybrid of science, magic, and unrelenting will. Anyways, back to Doom Eternal. The climax of Doom Eternal isn't in hell, it's in heaven. Urdok is a sterile, luminous realm of floating cities and cold logic. Here, the Con Maker attempts to resurrect the final Hell Priest and open a permanent portal between dimensions. The Slayer breaks the sacred seals, storms her sanctum, and confronts her in a cathedral of cosmic machinery. She transforms into a monstrous being, a swirling divine abomination. He defeats her, and with her defeat, the connection between Urdok and Hell collapses. But in doing so, something worse awakens, and that is Davoth, the true Dark Lord. The one who created hell, the one who was betrayed by the Makers, the one who created all the demons in the first place, the soul system, and even the Slayer's fate. He has returned. This then brings us to the Ancient Gods DLC. The Con Maker is dead, the realm of Urdok is in disarray, heaven's order has collapsed, the soul trade is in chaos, the walls between dimensions are falling, and from the darkness beyond the multiverse, Davoth stirs, the Dark Lord, the true architect of everything the Slayer has ever fought. Not a demon, not a beast, but a true god. In the Ancient Gods Part 1, the Slayer is alone. Samuel Hayden is damaged, Urdok is lawless, and the Hell Priests are defeated. But the invasion hasn't stopped, it's only escalated. Without the Con Maker to manage the flow of Argent energy, Hell has spilled into the farthest reaches of reality. Entire dimensions are at risk, Earth's oceans are corrupted, the World Tree in the Blood Swamps is bleeding. The Seraphim, the angelic race that once empowered the Makers, are completely silent. The Slayer's goal? Resurrect Davoth's physical form so he can be defeated. You see, Davoth still exists only as an immaterial force. The only way to destroy him permanently is to restore his body and then defeat him from there. But there's a twist. To do this, the Slayer must ally with an old and controversial figure, the Seraphim, an exiled Maker who once modified the Slayer's body in the divinity machine and gave him his godlike strength. And that Seraphim is actually Samuel Hayden. In Part 2 of the Ancient Gods, everything is laid bare. Long ago, there was one realm, Davoth's world. He created life there, but the Makers feared Davoth's vision. His world was evolving faster than Urdok's own, so they sabotaged him. They cursed his people, twisted them into demons, they erased his name from records. Then they sealed him in a pocket dimension and told the multiverse it was hell. They made him into a complete monster, and then built a religion on top of that lie. So when Davoth raged and created the demon hordes, it wasn't out of malice, it was vengeance. When he corrupted souls, it was in defiance of Urdok. And when the Slayer was created, it was because even the Makers knew they couldn't hold him forever. Davoth, in short, was the first being, the prime god of the Doom universe. Everything that exists, even the Slayer, is part of his original creation, and now he wants it all back. In the last act of the Ancient Gods, the Doomslayer confronts Davoth in the now ruined city of Amora, Hell's capital. What follows is not just a battle, it's a duel between gods. Davoth is not some raging demon, he is calm, deliberate, and terrifyingly powerful. Armed with his own crucible blade, he mirrors the Slayer in many ways, both betrayed, both forged in fire, both unstoppable. Their battle is brutal, fast, and visceral. It's pretty sick. But in the end, the Slayer wins. He drives his blade through Davoth's heart, and as Davoth dies, reality itself begins to essentially unravel. The being who started all of existence is gone. The Slayer, linked to him through the divinity machine, begins to falter. Without Davoth, his rage, his very essence, begins to wane. Knowing the danger he poses, knowing that without Davoth his powers are unstable, the Seraphim seals the Slayer inside a sealed sarcophagus once again, identical to the one from Doom 2016. He isn't defeated, he's just put to rest, not because he lost, but because he finished what he was created to do. The Slayer is not a man anymore, he is a myth, a force, and a symbol. He will sleep until he is needed again. But is that truly the end? Probably not, because somewhere in a distant realm, the demons still whisper his name. Now that we've talked about the events of Doom Eternal, let's go ahead and move on to Doom the Dark Ages. Now I want to preface this. This game just came out, so I definitely recommend skipping this part and coming back when you play the game, okay? If you're looking forward to playing the game, go play the game before watching this, because we're really going to dive into, the events of Doom the Dark Ages. Like I said, this takes place between Doom 64 and Doom 2016. There's a lot in here. Definitely go play Doom the Dark Ages now that you're caught up, okay? But you have been warned. Spoiler warning, okay? I know we talked about it before a little bit, but that's not the extent of what we're going to talk about. Anyways, you have been warned. Spoiler warning. Before the UAC, before Earth, before the demonic invasions, there was Argent Nur, a realm not unlike our own medieval past. Castles, swords, warrior kings, but with advanced spiritual knowledge, ancient technology, and cosmic ties to other dimensions. This was not a primitive world, it was a warrior civilization built around honor, duty, and the sacred order of protectors known as the Night Sentinels. They were the best of the best, trained from birth to fight monsters from the void. They guarded the realm from ancient evil, namely the growing threat of hell. But even the Sentinels could not hold back what was coming. In this world, long before he wore green armor or wielded a super shotgun, the man who would become the Doomslayer was a complete stranger. He arrived not from the sky, but from the fires of hell itself. You see, after the events of Doom 64, the Doom guy had chosen to remain in hell, to fight it forever. But instead of passing, he somehow passed through time and space. He appeared in Argent Nur, broken and filled with unimaginable hatred. He told the Sentinels of what he had seen, the true face of the demons, the soul forging, the eternal torment. They didn't believe him, but he didn't stop fighting. He joined them, first as an outsider, then as a brother in arms. Though he never spoke, his fury told the story. He became a Night Sentinel, swearing the oath, donning their armor. But even then, he was different. Where the Sentinels fought with discipline, he fought with rage. Where they held the line, he charged through it. The demons began to call him names in fear. The Hellwalker, the Unchained Predator, the Doomslayer. Same stuff. The turning point came when the Makers arrived, specifically the Con Maker, emissary of Urdok. She claimed she had a gift for Argent Nur, a new power, a clean, limitless energy. You guessed it, Argent energy. She never told them where it came from. The people accepted it, the ruling class accepted it, even the priests, known as the Hell Priests, accepted it. They built temples, machines, forges, they fed the power into their cities, their armies grew stronger, their defenses are unbreakable. But the Doomslayer knew. He had seen the soul refineries, the gore nests, and the costs. He tried to warn them, tried to tell them that they were feeding off of the damned, that they had struck a deal with evil itself, but the leadership silenced him. Eventually, the Con Maker took it a step further. To ensure Hell's cooperation, she gave them something in return. A champion, one of their own. The Doomslayer, of course. He was handed over, betrayed by those he fought beside, thrown into the blood pits of hell. But he didn't go away, he thrived. In the heart of hell, he found an ancient weapon, the Crucible. Not a sword, but a fragment of pure energy, forged by the Night Sentinels to battle demons directly. He used it to slay the Titan known as the Dreadnought, defeating a creature no other warrior could even injure. That was the moment Hell realized this man couldn't be stopped. They tried to trap him in a sarcophagus to contain him, and for a time they did succeed. With the Slayer gone and the Makers growing in influence, Argent Nur fell, slowly, then all at once. The Hell Priests opened the gates fully, the Sentinels who resisted were defeated or corrupted, the Con Maker withdrew to Urdok, watching from a distance as the world she had deceived was consumed. Only a few warriors survived. The Order, once noble, became twisted, merging with Hell. They became the Hell Priests who would later oversee the invasion of Earth. The Doomslayer, entombed, silenced, forgotten, would become a legend later on. That's basically the gist of Doom the Dark Ages, right? We get some context on the Hell Priests, and it's actually really cool. In my opinion, it adds a lot to the story. Doom the Dark Ages is the origin point not just for the Slayer, but for every cosmic thread. The beginning of Hell's reliance on souls, the invention of Argent energy, the rise and fall of the Night Sentinels, the first betrayal of the Con Maker, the early alliances between heaven and hell. Everything starts here and it ends with the Slayer's return. Next up here, I want to revisit the old games. How are the classic Doom titles fitting into this lore? We'll explore Doom 1993, Doom 2, Final Doom, and Doom 64, and how the once standalone games are now deeply embedded in this mythic, tragic timeline. Let's go back to where it all started. Not chronologically, but culturally. 1993. The original Doom had just dropped, and the world had changed. Gaming changes, but what seemed like a fast-paced demon-blasting action shooter back then turns out to be the very foundation of the Slayer's legend. Today we understand that these games aren't separate from the rest of the timeline, they are the Slayer's earliest known actions, his trial by fire. And it all starts with a guy who got really mad on Mars. In the lore, Doom 1993 is now recognized as the first act of the Doomslayer's recorded war against Hell in the modern age. At this point, the man who would become the Slayer is still just a Marine, an unnamed soldier referred to by fans as the Doom Guy, stationed on Mars after assaulting a superior officer who ordered the slaughter of civilians. When a teleportation experiment goes wrong on Phobos and Deimos, Mars' moons, a portal to Hell is opened, and what begins as a science project quickly turns into an invasion. Everyone is, gone except for him, and armed with only his fists and a pistol, Doom Guy rips and tears his way through hordes of demons across the UAC facility and eventually into Hell itself. The key villain here isn't just Hell in general, it's the concept of the Icon of Sin, a massive, go-headed demonic entity that becomes central in Doom 2 and later Doom Eternal. In Doom 1993, you don't know what it is, you just know that you have to defeat it. But looking back, this was the first glimpse of Davoth's army, and Doom Guy, he's no longer just surviving, he's winning. At the end of Doom 1993, the Marine returns from Hell, only to find Earth has been invaded. This is the plot of Doom 2, Hell on Earth. The demons, led again by the Icon of Sin, have launched a full-scale attack on Earth. Cities are burning, billions are gone, and the UAC is still trying to profit off of the whole thing. In this game, Doom Guy takes the fight to the streets. Skyscrapers, factories, underground sewers, all filled with Hellspawn. But here's what's new lore-wise. In Doom Eternal, we learn that the Icon of Sin is not just a boss fight, it's a corrupted titan from Argent D'Nur, modified and awakened by the Con Maker. That means even in 1994, the player was unknowingly fighting the same war that began back in the Dark Ages. Also, Doom Guy's brutal efficiency in this game, the modern lore reinterprets this as the first signs of the Slayer's transformation. He's not just a guy with a gun anymore, he's something more. He can carry dozens of weapons, outrun demons, and he never gets tired. He is becoming the Doomslayer as we know it. Final Doom is a weird one. It's technically a fan-made game, later adopted by ID Software, but lore-wise it's treated as additional campaigns during the Earth invasion. It includes TNT Evolution, where UAC scientists try to restart the teleportation experiments, and spoiler, it goes horribly wrong again. The Plutonia experiment, where the last two surviving Marines try to shut down a hell portal with a prototype device. Doom Guy isn't confirmed to be the protagonist of both, but canonically, at least one of these stories continues his crusade. Thematically, Final Doom shows how unstoppable Hell is, but also how relentless he has become. By this point, demons fear him. Lore from Doom Eternal suggests that his reputation is already spreading in Hell, the man who defeats their gods. Now, here's where everything changes. Doom 64 was originally seen as a weird Nintendo spin-off, now it's officially canon, and it explains how Doom Guy became the Slayer. After the Earth invasion ends, the UAC decides to bomb Hellgates with nukes. It works partially, but one base, the farthest one in the system, begins showing activity again. Demons are returning, once again. Why? The Mother Demon. She's a new villain, a demonic matriarch who resurrects Hell's forces. Lore suggests she is one of Davoth's high generals, not as powerful as the Icon of Sin, but one of the few who understands how the soul refineries function. Doom Guy goes back in, alone, no backup, no base, no commander. He destroys the Mother Demon and her army, and then he makes the choice that changes everything. I choose to remain in Hell forever to prevent their return. This is the origin of Doomslayer. He gives up his freedom, he accepts eternal war, and he becomes a myth. From here, he disappears from our world and enters the realm of legend. He becomes the one who will later be found by the Night Sentinels, forged in the Divinity Machine, and brought into the story of Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. Anyways, to summarize, Doom 1993, this is the Slayer's first contact with Hell. Doom 2 is his defense of Earth. Final Doom, the cleanup and escalation, and Doom 64 is his sacrifice and the beginning of his myth that we'll see in the reboot series. These aren't just arcade shooters anymore, they are the Slayer's mortal years, his crucible before the crucible, and everything that comes next, that's the consequences of these choices. The deeper you go, the more it feels like Doom isn't linear at all. The Slayer exists across time, Davoth is present in every version of Hell, the Crucible appears across centuries, prophecies written in ancient runes match the actions of a modern Marine. This suggests something pretty big. The Slayer is probably eternal. Some fans believe that every version of Doom from the 1993 original to Eternal is not just connected, but part of a repeating cycle. Each time the universe falls out of balance, the Slayer returns, sometimes in green armor, sometimes in chainmail, but always carrying the same purpose, and that's rage. The theological implications of Doom just as a piece of media is really interesting. Doom's universe asks a lot of philosophical questions. What if our gods are just bureaucrats? What if salvation is built on exploitation? What if our greatest savior is someone fueled not by faith, but by fury? The Slayer doesn't pray, he doesn't ask for redemption, he doesn't even speak, but he does what no one else will. He ends the cycle. Wrapping this all up here, this segment isn't about another demon or dimension. It's about why all of this matters, why after 30 plus years, a game about a silent marine, defeating monsters with a shotgun has grown into a mythic story about God's betrayal and eternal rage. Let's wrap this up with meaning, not just mayhem. The story of Doom began in 1993 with the most basic premise imaginable. You are a space marine, demons have invaded Mars, rip and tear until it is done. There was no dialogue, no cutscenes, no backstory. Just you and a wall of flesh. But somehow, that foundation gave rise to one of the most deeply layered mythologies in gaming, a saga that spans not just time and space, but morality, identity, and the cost of vengeance. And it all starts with one central idea. What if unstoppable rage could be righteous? You see, the Doomslayer is more than a character, he is an idea. He doesn't speak, he doesn't ask questions, he doesn't need validation. He just acts without hesitation, without compromise. His morality is pure not because it's nice, but because it's simple. Evil exists, evil feeds on the weak, and it must be destroyed. In a world obsessed with nuance and gray areas, the Slayer represents something rare, a force of absolute resistance to corruption. He doesn't fight for glory, he fights so no one else has to. That's why demons fear him, that's why angels hate him, and that's why the fans love him. In the original games, the lore was barely a whisper. By Doom 3, we saw an attempt to ground the story in realism, demonic experiments, UAC logs, Mars-based politics, but it was the rebooted series Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal that exploded the universe into something grand. It turned the icon of sin from a weird goat wall into a resurrected titan created by a rogue angel, the Crucible from a cool sword into a relic capable of defeating gods, the Slayer from a voiceless marine into the multiverse's only true free will. And what's more impressive, none of this was retconned awkwardly. It was layered on retrospectively, honoring the past while deepening the present. That's rare in any franchise, especially in gaming. If you step back, the entire Doom series across its many reboots and reinterpretations is about cycles. Life and death, power and sacrifice, betrayal and vengeance, creation and destruction. The Slayer is both a tool of destruction and a consequence of creation gone wrong. He's not immune to the gods, he is the result of their arrogance. And yet, he defies them anyways. He defeats what was meant to be undefeatable. He stops what was supposed to be eternal. He does what no one else in any other universe could do. He ends the cycle. You see, we live in an age where control is everything, algorithms, corporations, governments, systems, everyone wants to predict, influence, and manipulate behavior. Slayer, he's the anti-algorithm. He can't be reasoned with, he can't be bought, he refuses destiny. In Doom Eternal, the con maker tells him, "You were never meant to be," and his only response is to rip her apart. In that, he becomes something we all wish we could be, uncompromising in the face of evil. At the end of the Ancient Gods, the Slayer is placed into another sarcophagus, not as punishment, not as exile, but as rest, because his war is over. But it's not an ending, it's a pause, a comma, not a period, because the cycle could always return. And if it does, we know exactly what comes next, a sound in the distance, a hiss of pressure, and the echo of a voice from deep within the myth. Rip and tear until it is done. This is why Doom is such a standout piece of media. It's not just the music, it's not just the gameplay. Doom endures because it represents something pure. In a world of hesitation, it's decisive. In a world of confusion, it's clear. In a world full of compromise, it's absolute. That's the legacy of Doom, a story told in fire, betrayal, and redemption, where the hero doesn't ask why, he just knows what must be done. I'm just going to leave that there, but that's going to do it for the video. If you guys did enjoy and you found it interesting, please make sure to drop a like and a subscribe. It really helps me out, and I look forward to making more content like this. Drop a comment down below, what games do you guys want to see next? What piece of media would you like to explore next? Anyways, catch you guys in the next video. Peace.